And good morning, Representative Brian Martinez, Representative Kirt joining us this morning. Good to have you on your vote counts. Let me ask you this. There was a Sooner poll this week that came out. Pretty much all the Republican Democrat races are where people thought they were, except for the governor's race and the state superintendent race, which showed them very close. In fact, Jenna Nelson leading Ryan Walters. Your thoughts about the polls?
Yeah, I thought the polls were fascinating, and each poll is slightly different in how they ask voters questions, and certainly the methodology is different, but what we see is a path. We see a competitive race in the governor's race and in the state superintendent race, and we see public education playing a big role in that. People want to know that our public schools are supported well and that we're going to be able to trust them going forward. Jenna Nelson is an educator who's clearly shown her commitment to public schools. Same with Joy Hoffmeister. And so what you're seeing is that result in those calls. I'm so thrilled to see people focused on the person over the party, and I think that's a lot healthier for our state.
Okay, so the Sooner poll basically showed everything where people thought it was going to be, except those two races. The governor's folks said, now there's a problem with the poll, but the question is, should they be listening more or attacking the poll more? Which is the real deal?
So I always think the best option is to listen. Any chance that there is to hear from constituents or the voting public of Oklahoma, you should listen and hear what they have to say. I do question any polling that I see all the time, just as the world that we live in today. It's really hard to find an accurate poll. You could see that in the last presidential elections. I think the same company had some polling data on the runoff elections that happened recently that was way off. So it's hard to do. That's a hard science. It's a hard art. I would say listen, but I do think Kevin Stitt will probably be reelected governor.
Okay, that's going to be, we'll be talking about that for some time, these polling numbers, because they keep coming out. The one poll that does matter is the one that happens in November. So the question is, when you look at registration numbers for Oklahomans registering to vote, women are leading the pack. Any thoughts about that?
I think it's great. I think any time that more people are engaged in our political process, the better the product is going to be. I do have to kind of laugh a little bit about, there's always this attempt to put people into these neat little groups to assume that they're all going to vote a certain way just because they're a woman or a man or a Hispanic or an African American, and people are way more complicated than that. What you see time and time again is it matters where people are from, what season of life they're in, just how they view the world. So I think that's great that more women are registered to vote, but I think reading into it too much would be a mistake.
I'll concede your point that it's hard to understand this, but you know what's happening on the national level. The president's numbers are way up. There's a lot of trends across the country driven by women voters that look good for Democrats. Your thoughts about what's happening in Oklahoma?
Yeah, people are motivated by things that they experience personally, and women are shook by the Roe decision, by Dobbs coming down, and by their concerns for their medical care. We're seeing that in the registrations. I'm talking to people every day in the neighborhoods in my district. They are shocked. They did not realize the state bans that are in place and how dangerous they are. I'm talking to physicians who are nervous to care for pregnant people. We have to address that at the polls, and what I'm seeing is people are going to show up, and I'm thrilled. Come on. October 14th is your deadline to get registered. Join us.
Okay. Hey, coming up, they picked the most important topic of the week. To hear it, you'll have to stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey, that ARPA money that's been talked about for a very long time is starting to flow. Some meetings this week. What's going on there?
So I think you're going to see here pretty quick that we will be deploying more of these dollars for very important projects. I like to remind the public that we have $1.8 billion to spend and $18 billion in requests. So a lot of people will be hearing no, but a lot of people will be hearing yes as well. And I think that we have done the process. It's been transparent. It's been fair. We were looking for projects that would make a huge difference in the most amount of Oklahomans' lives, and I think you're going to continue to see that, and you're going to see a once-in-a-lifetime investment in Oklahoma and Oklahomans.
Okay, a lot of deployments in mental health, infrastructure, those sorts of things. Legislature said the government is moving too fast. They took it back. Your thoughts about where we're at now?
Yeah, I'm so glad we're finally to this point. I mean, we are rushing through the end, but we have taken quite a while to get here. I sure would have loved to get more money out sooner, but I am so thrilled with some of the decisions that we made this week. In the last couple of weeks, we've committed to a new psychiatric hospitals for Griffin and for Tulsa. We've committed to youth services, Boys and Girls Clubs, some things that are going to really affect prevention as well. And so I'm thrilled with what's happening next, and I think those funds are going to go to work for the people of Oklahoma and do good things.
All right, so that Uncle Sugar money is going to start to flow now. All right, the most important topic of the week was fill in the blank, Senator.
You know, I want to talk about primary care and people having health care access. I listened to a presentation by the Primary Care Association. They're getting some of the American Rescue Plan money. There are places across the state for people to access health care affordably now. Between Medicaid expansion, which the voters put in place, and these facilities, you can go get access to care. And one of the great things about those primary care places is that they have mental health, they have dental coverage. They can help you with all those needs and get you referred out. So I'm thrilled that we're funding that, and I think prevention is the next thing we need to be emphasizing.
Outstanding. Representative, your thoughts on the most important topic of the week?
Yeah, so I'm going to take a little bit of a different angle here and not bring up a specific policy, but talk about kind of the world that we live in and the civil discourse that is so important for our republic and for our state. We're in the throes of election season, and people are passionate about different issues and different candidates. I beg you and I encourage you to remember the bigger picture. We are all Oklahomans. We're all Americans. Agree to disagree, that's fine, and be passionate about that. But at the end of the day, we want Oklahoma to succeed, and we could be reasonable. Go out and meet your neighbors. Yeah, it's the best way to solve our problems.
You just made my weekend. Thanks for watching Your Vote Counts. See this again at news9.com/YourVoteCounts. Follow me on Twitter @MitchellTalks.